let's pick up with chapter 16. And Harry let go. Cold, damp air rushed past him as he fell down, 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 and flump. With a funny muffled sort of thump, he landed on something soft. He sat up and felt around, his eyes not used to the gloom. It felt as though he was sitting on some sort of plant. Here we have Harry falling down. "It's okay," he called up to the light the size of a postage stamp, which was the open trapdoor. "It's a soft landing. You can jump." Ron followed straight away. He landed sprawled next to Harry. "What is this stuff?" were his first words. "Dunno. Sort of plant thing. I suppose it's here to break the fall. Come on, Hermione." The distant music stopped. There was a loud bark from the dog, but Hermione had already jumped. She landed on Harry's other side. "We must be miles under the school," she said. "Lucky this plant thing's here, really," said Ron. "Lucky!" shrieked Hermione. "Look at you both!" She leapt up and struggled towards a damp wall. She had to struggle because the moment she had landed, the plant had started to twist snake-like tendrils around her ankles. As for Harry and Ron, their legs had already been bound tightly in the creepers without their noticing. Hermione had managed to free herself before the plant got a grip on her. Now she watched in horror as the two boys fought to pull the plants off of them. But the more they strained against it, the tighter and faster the plant wound around them. "Stop moving!" Hermione ordered them. "I know what this is. It's Devil's Snare." "Oh, I'm so glad we know what it's called. That's a great help," snarled Ron, leaning back, trying to stop the plant from curling around his neck. "Shut up, I'm trying to remember how to kill it," said Hermione. "Well, hurry up, I can't breathe," Harry gasped, wrestling with it as it curled around his chest. Devil's Snare, what did Professor Sprout say? It likes the dark and damp, so light a fire," Harry choked. "Yes, of course, but there's no wood," Hermione cried, wringing her hands out. "Have you gone mad?" Ron bellowed. "Are you a witch or not?" "Oh, right," said Hermione, and she whipped out her wand, waved it, muttered something, and set a jet of the same bluebell flames she had used on Snape at the plant. In a matter of seconds, the two boys felt it loosening its grip as it cringed away from the light and warmth. Wriggling and flailing, it unraveled itself from their bodies, and they were able to pull free. "Lucky you pay attention in herbology, Hermione," said Harry, as he joined her by the wall, wiping sweat off his face. "Yeah," said Ron, "and lucky Harry doesn't lose his head in a crisis. There's no wood, honestly." "This way," said Harry, pointing down the stone passageway, which was the only way on. All they could hear apart from their footsteps was the gentle drip of water trickling down the walls. The passageway sloped downwards, and Harry was reminded of Gringotts. With an unpleasant jolt of his heart, he remembered the dragons said to be guarding vaults in the Wizard's Bank. If they met a dragon, a fully grown dragon, Norbert had been enough. "Can you hear something?" Ron whispered. Harry listened. A soft rustling and clinking seemed to be coming from up ahead. "Do you think it's a ghost?" "I don't know. Sounds like wings to me." "There's light ahead. I can see something moving." They reached the end of the passageway and saw before them a brilliantly lit chamber, its ceiling arching high above them. It was full of small, jewel-bright birds, fluttering and tumbling all around the room. On the opposite side of the chamber was a heavy wooden door. "Do you think they'll attack us if we cross the room?" said Ron. "Probably," said Harry. "They don't look very vicious, but I suppose they'll all swoop down at once. Well, there's nothing to it. I'll run." He took a deep breath, covered his face with his arms, and sprinted across the room. He expected to feel sharp beaks and claws tearing at him any second, but nothing happened. He reached the door untouched. He pulled the handle, but it was locked. The other two followed him. They tugged and heaved the door, but it wouldn't budge, not even when Hermione tried her Alohomora charm. "Now what?" said Ron. "These birds. They can't be here just for decoration," said Hermione. They watched the birds soaring overhead, glittering. "Glittering? They're not birds," Harry said suddenly. "They're keys. Winged keys. Look carefully." "So that just means—" He looked around the chamber while the other two squinted up at the flock of keys. "Yes, look, broomsticks. We've got to catch the key to the door." "But there are hundreds of them." Ron examined the lock on the door. "We're looking for a big, old-fashioned one, probably silver, like the handle." They seized a broomstick each and kicked off into the air, soaring into the midst of the clouds. They grabbed and snatched, but the bewitched keys darted and dived so quick it was almost impossible to catch one. Not for nothing, though, was Harry the youngest seeker in a century. He had a knack for spotting things other people didn't. After a minute's weaving about through the whirl of rainbow wings, he noticed a large silver key that had a bent wing as if it had already been caught once, and stuffed roughly in the keyhole. "That one," he called to the others. "That big one. There, no there, with the bright blue wings, the feathers all crumpled to the side." Ron went speeding in the direction that Harry was pointing, crashed into the ceiling, and nearly fell off his broom. "We've got to close it in," Harry called, not taking his eyes off the key with the damaged wing. "Ron, you come at it from above. Hermione, stay below and stop it from going down, and I'll try and catch it. Right? Now!" Ron dived. Hermione rocketed upwards. The key dodged them both, and Harry streaked after it. It sped towards the wall. Harry leaned forward and, with a nasty crunching noise, pinned it against the stone with one hand. Ron and Hermione's cheers echoed around the high chamber. They landed quickly, and Harry ran to the door, the key struggling in his hand. He rammed it into the lock and turned. It worked. The moment the lock had clicked open, the key took flight again, looking very battered now as it had been caught twice. "Ready?" Harry asked the other two, his hand on the door handle. They nodded. They pulled the door open. The next chamber was so dark they couldn't see anything at all, but as they stepped into it, light suddenly flooded the room to reveal an astonishing sight. They were standing on the edge of a giant chessboard, behind the black chessmen, which were all taller than they were, and carved from what looked like black stone. Facing them, way across the chamber, were the white pieces. Harry, Ron, and Hermione shivered slightly. The towering white chessmen had no faces. "Now what do we do?" Harry whispered. "It's obvious, isn't it?" said Ron. "We've got to play our way across the room." Behind the white pieces they could see another door. "How?" said Hermione nervously. "I think," said Ron, "we're going to have to be chessmen." He walked up to a black knight and put his hand out to touch the knight's horse. At once the stone sprang to life. The horse pawed the ground, and the knight turned his helmeted head to look down at Ron. "Do we, have to join you to get across?" The black knight nodded. Ron turned to the other two. This wants thinking about," he said. "I suppose we've got to take the place of 3 of the black pieces." Harry and Hermione stayed quiet, watching Ron think. Finally, he said, "Now, don't be offended or anything, but neither of you are very good at chess." "We're not offended," said Harry quickly. "Just tell us what to do." "Well, Harry, you take the place of that bishop, and Hermione, you go there instead of that castle. What about you?" "I'm going to be a knight," said Ron. The chessmen seemed to have been listening, because at these words a knight, a bishop, and a castle turned their backs on the white pieces and walked off the board, leaving 3 empty spaces, which Harry, Ron, and Hermione took. "White always plays first in chess," said Ron, peering across the board. "Yes, look." A white pawn had moved forward 2 squares. Ron started to direct the black pieces. They moved silently wherever he sent them. Harry's knees were trembling. What if they lost? "Harry, move diagonally 4 squares to the right." Their first real shock came when their other knight was taken. The white queen smashed him to the floor and dragged him off the board, where he lay quite still, face down. Here they are among the chess pieces. "Had to let that happen," said Ron, looking shaken. "Leaves you free to take the bishop, Hermione. Go on." Every time one of their men was lost, the white pieces showed no mercy. Soon there was a huddle of limp black players slumped along the wall. Twice Ron only just noticed in time that Harry and Hermione were in danger. He himself darted around the board, taking almost as many white pieces as they had lost black ones. "We're nearly there," he muttered suddenly. Let me think." The white queen turned her blank face towards him. "Yes," said Ron softly. "It's the only way. I've got to be taken." "No!" Harry and Hermione shouted. "That's chess," snapped Ron. "You've got to make sacrifices. I'll make my move. She'll take me. That leaves you free to checkmate the king, Harry. But do you want to stop Snape or not?" "Ron, look, if you don't hurry up, he'll already have the stone." There was nothing else for it. "Ready?" Ron called, his face pale but determined. "Here I go. Now don't hang around once you've won." He stepped forward and the white queen pounced. She struck Ron hard across the head with her stone arm, and he crashed to the floor. Hermione screamed but stayed on her square. The White Queen dragged Ron to one side. He looked as if he'd been knocked out. Shaking, Harry moved 3 spaces to the left. The White King took off his crown and threw it at Harry's feet. They had won. The chessmen parted and bowed, leaving the door ahead clear. With one last desperate look at Ron, Harry and Hermione charged through the door and up the next passageway. What if He'll be all right, said Harry, trying to convince himself. What do you reckon's next? We've had Sprout, that was the devil's snare. Flitwick must have put charms on the keys. McGonagall transfigured the chessmen to make them alive. That leaves Quirrell's spell and Snape's. They had reached another door. All right, Harry whispered. Go on. Harry pushed it open. A disgusting smell filled their nostrils, making both of them pull their robes up to cover their noses. Eyes watering, they saw, flat on the floor in front of them, a troll even larger than the one they had tackled, out cold with a bloody lump on its head. I'm glad we didn't have to fight that one, Harry whispered, as they stepped carefully over one of its massive legs. Come on, I can't breathe. He pulled open the next door, both of them hardly daring to look at what came next. But there was nothing very frightening in here. Just a table with 7 differently shaped bottles standing on it in a line. Snape's, said Harry. What do we have to do? They stepped over the threshold, and immediately a fire sprang up behind them in the doorway. It wasn't ordinary fire either. It was purple. At the same instant, black flames shot up in the doorway leading onwards. They were trapped. Look! Hermione seized a roll of paper lying next to the bottles. Harry looked over her shoulder and read, Danger lies before you, while safety lies behind. 2 of us will help you, whichever you would find. One among us 7 will let you move ahead. Another will transport the drinker back instead. 2 among our number hold only nettle wine. 3 of us are killers, waiting hidden in the line. Choose unless you wish to stay in here evermore. To help you in your choice, we give you these clues 4. First, however slyly the poison tries to hide, you will always find some on Nettle's wine left side. Second, different are those who stand at either end, but if you would move onwards, neither is your friend. Third, as you see clearly, all are different size. Neither dwarf nor giant holds death in their insides. Fourth, the second left and second on the right are twins once you taste them, though different at first sight. Hermione let out a great sigh, and Harry, amazed, saw that she was smiling, the last thing he felt like doing. Brilliant, said Hermione. This isn't magic, it's logic, a puzzle. A lot of the greatest wizards haven't got an ounce of logic. They'd be stuck in here forever. But so will we, won't we? Of course not, said Hermione. Everything we need is here on this paper. 7 bottles, 3 are poison, 2 are wine, 1 will get us safely through the black fire, and 1 will get us back through the purple. So how do we know which one to drink? Give me a minute. Hermione read the paper several times. Then she walked up and down the line of bottles, muttering to herself and pointing at them. At last she clapped her hands. Got it, she said. The smallest bottle will get us through the black fire, towards the stone. He looked at the tiny bottle. There's only enough there for 1 of us, he said. That's hardly 1 swallow. They looked at each other. Which one will get you back through the purple flames? Hermione pointed at a round bottle at the right end of the line. You drink that, said Harry. No, listen. Get back and get Ron. Grab brooms from the flying key room. They'll get you out of the trapdoor and past Fluffy. Go straight to the Owlery and send Hedwig to Dumbledore. We need him. I might be able to hold Snape off for a little while, but I'm no match for him, really. But Harry, what if you know who's with him? Well, I was lucky once, wasn't I? Said Harry, pointing at his scar. I might get lucky again. Hermione's lip trembled, and she suddenly dashed at Harry and threw her arms around him. Hermione! Harry, you're a great wizard, you know. Not as good as you, said Harry, very embarrassed as she let go of him. Me, she said, books and cleverness. There are more important things, friendship and bravery, and, oh, Harry, be careful. You drink first, said Harry. You are sure which is which, aren't you? Positive, said Hermione. She took a long drink from the round bottle, and at the end shuddered. It's not poison, Harry said anxiously. No, but it's like ice. Quick, go before it wears off. Good luck. Take care. Go. Hermione turned and walked through the purple fire. Harry took a deep breath and picked up the smallest bottle. He turned to face the black flames. "Here I come," he said, and he drained the little bottle in one gulp. It was indeed as though ice was flooding his body. He put the bottle down and walked forward. He braced himself, saw the black flames licking his body, but couldn't feel them. For a moment he could see nothing but dark fire. Then on the other side, in the last chamber, there was already somebody there. But it wasn't Snape. It wasn't even Voldemort. And that's where we'll stop for today. I'll see you all.